Why is Princess Fiona one of my favourite heroines from film? Well, Shrek came out in 2001 and was heralded swiftly by Roger Ebert, the film critic, as being jolly and wicked, filled with sly in-jokes, and yet somehow possessing a heart. And at its centre, for me, is Princess Fiona, who is jolly and wicked, full of sly in-jokes, and with a huge heart. But it's not her appeal to young children that I'm here to talk about today. It's the reason that Shrek resonated with those of us who came to it first as 19-year-olds at university. And we watched and watched and watched it again. So what was it? Why was this kids' cartoon so relevant to us? Yes, okay, it had occasional moments of adult-inflected humour, but we could hear adult jokes anytime we wanted. So what was it? And why do parents and teachers still love this movie to this day? Well, fairy tales are all about metaphors. Princess Fiona, for me, is a perfect metaphor for the Instagram generation, 10 years before Instagram was even founded. She knows exactly how to present herself on the outside for maximum impact. She's funny, she's sexy, she's demure and feminine, she knows how to kick ass, and she also knows how to play the role of princess, as evidenced by her self-aware understanding of the myth that she's living in when Shrek comes to rescue her. But she's also a young woman who is hamstrung and kept tied back by her deepest secret. She goes to great lengths to keep that secret buried, and her secret is her true form. And her true form is an ogre. And her true form to her is ugly. How many people, boys and girls alike, do you know who post their perfect life on social media? This assembly is not about that. Of course it's natural to show people your highlight reel. Like, I'm not going to post pictures of myself marking on social media, because who wants to see that? Social media is what it is, and you just need to take some of it with a pinch of salt. But here's the trick with this. Shrek subverts your expectations, because the moral of the story is not, your inner beauty is what matters, or you are beautiful on the inside. Princess Fiona is patently not beautiful on the inside, according to the society in which she lives. And for that, she is ashamed of herself. In one of the funniest scenes in the film, Fiona sings to a bird, and as she allows herself to get carried away in the moment, she screeches so high and loud that the bird explodes. Now, that's good slapstick, of course, but there's a deeper layer to its importance here. This is the first time that we've seen Fiona alone in the whole film. She retreats to her cave, perhaps her own dark night of the soul, when the sun goes down and the source of her biggest shame reveals itself. Now, throughout history, writers have written about night and its dark powers. It's the witching hour. It's the time when our darkest selves are allowed to roam free. You ever had a dream that you wouldn't necessarily want to share with someone else? Well, I don't mean to break an illusion here, but so has everyone. That's what happens at night. Anyway, Fiona successfully hides away from the world to wrestle this dilemma alone. Donkey and Shrek, meanwhile, who have no choice but to wear their flaws on the outside, sleep like babies on the rocks outside, calm and peaceful. Perhaps that's point number one. So, Fiona is alone, and while she's alone, she goes off to play princess. She twirls and whirls up to this bird like a kind of cartoon Julie Andrews at her peak, and the light catches her, and the bird sings to her, and she is at one with nature. But she can't keep up the charade. She gets carried away and reveals a bit too much of her ogreish self. She screeches and the bird explodes, and she instantly knows that she's been caught out playing a role. You can see this, the animators have captured her shame really well here. She is not what a princess should be, according to her own understanding of it. Thank God nobody was around to see this embarrassing moment, right? Except the entire audience were, so there must be a reason for it to be included. And in fact, we've already seen it. She's playing princess here, and she's actually really bad at it. She says things like, "But knight, this beeth our first meeting," and it's gratingly disingenuous. She can't pull it off. And this is important. It's not just that being the traditional expectation meeting princess isn't her true self. It's that we actively do not like her while she's doing it. It feels really forced. She doesn't think it does, but she absolutely reeks of it. The whole scene reeks of it. And because the reason is that kind of faking is poison, and everybody can tell when it's going on. So, she makes the best of the situation and she fries the bird's eggs for breakfast. Right, industrious and funny. And little by little, the mask begins to slip. And every time it does, we like her a little bit more and more because, and here's the message for the young people of Instagram, she is not just like everyone else. She runs a huge risk in the film. At the end, she chooses to show everybody her true self. And in yet another subversion of tradition, she's rejected by everybody in the chapel, especially this woman in the middle here who actually faints with the shock and horror of it. But by the time that happens, when the villagers recoil in horror, do you care? No, of course you don't, because you too have seen who this woman actually is, and you actually prefer it to the boring, filtered, cliched, basic, whatever you want to call it, girl she thought she had to present to everyone. But it nearly doesn't pay off for her. She has to be rescued, and she has to be rescued by a dragon. Now, dragons symbolize all sorts in fairy tales, but traditionally they symbolize a flaw or a hurdle that the hero, or in this case heroine, has to overcome. This dragon is female and is nervous about her appearance and is sick of being trapped in her predetermined role. She has been freed, and she comes to the rescue of a woman in similar peril, and the subversion is complete. And when Fiona lands on the floor after taking true love's true form, she heartbreakingly looks at Shrek, and by extension us, because of the way the camera is angled, and says, I don't understand. I'm supposed to be beautiful. But we all know the truth. She is. So the moral of the story isn't what you look like on the outside doesn't matter. It's what you look like on the outside doesn't matter to the right person. For me, Fiona's not an icon because she can jump in the air and kick Robin Hood's guards right in their merry men. She's an icon because she speaks to us all, even now. What if what you thought everyone wanted didn't matter at all? What if being yourself, even if it drives some idiots away, was the bravest thing you could do? Thanks, everyone.